Welcome to another live episode of the Victors Nation podcast. I am your host, Jason Robinson. Trey might have passed out. I'm not sure. Welcome back, Derek McCarty.
Glad to be back. Out for a couple of weeks. I'm sure anyone that's listening was aware. I had a second son that was born, Corum McCarty. We named him Corum, but he was born on October 28th. So the last couple of weeks I've been out of commission trying to help care for a newborn. Luckily, he is a good sleeper and a pretty mellow dude, and he has a 2-year-old big brother that likes to take care of him and helps take care of him. So back now, and should be back for the Tuesday pods at least here for the foreseeable future. Unfortunately, unlike last year, we are not going to be talking about a national championship season. Unfortunately, we're talking about what it's going to take just to become bowl eligible with 2 games left in the season this year. So tough loss this last Saturday to Indiana. Another game that honestly probably should have been a win. We should have won this game. I've been telling people the last few weeks that, and this is not necessarily a shot at Sherrone Moore, but if Jim Harbaugh was coaching this team, we would at least be 8-2 right now. If not better, if not 9-1. 8-2, and the games against Texas and Oregon, I feel like would have been nail biters. Those would have been close games.
I agree with that too, and I think that's like a lot of changes and all that stuff, and it's just an over exaggeration, Derek. But it's really not. I mean, This is definitely. We said it after week 2 or 3, and we even saw some things in week 1, even though we had some comparisons with slow starts last year, the first 3 weeks. There's definitely a coaching problem.
Yeah,
it's for sure. We're gonna go into it a little bit. So
for sure. I mean, and I think what we're seeing here is that Jim Harbaugh is a different level of a coach than most other coaches. So a lot of people look at this team, and a lot of people. Honestly, there's a lot of people out there that are just making excuses, for the fact that a lot of coaches left, that a lot of players went to the NFL. But a lot of the guys that have stepped up behind the players that went to the NFL have been in the program for a few years. So it's not like we were left with just like a bunch of true freshmen that were starting. Our offensive line has comparatively to what the standard is at Michigan, played really poor against Indiana. I think I seen the stat of I've been really paying attention this year to yards before contact when we were on the ball with Donovan Edwards and Khalil Mullins. And last week, I believe for running backs, the yards before contact was negative, which means that on average, Donovan Edwards or Khalil Mullins were getting hit before they even got back to the line of scrimmage, which is completely unacceptable for the standard of offensive line play that we have set and that we have seen. But if you look across the talent level of this team, and the only spot that we can truly look at and compare talent is what were recruiting rankings for the guys that are on the team, right? That's really the only spot that we can look and evaluate comparatively players versus players, because there's nothing that really shows us development versus development except for when you look and see what Jim Harbaugh did. And so our team is filled with the types of players that Jim Harbaugh had in this program from the time that he took the program over until the time that he left. There's not much of a difference. Jim Harbaugh was never a coach that was recruiting a ton of 5-star players to bring into the program. A handful of them. I think we only had 2 last year on our national roster, 2 5-stars in JJ and
where you look, but
JJ and Will Johnson. I think Miles Hinton actually might have been a 5-star recruit coming out of high school too. So we had three 5-star recruits on last year's national championship team. The difference is Jim Harbaugh is one of the greatest football coaches that at any level that we've been able to watch in our lifetime. And so what he did with the people that he was able to bring in is he developed them, and he brought a style of football that you see right now if you watch the Chargers. He brought a culture that you see right now if you see any of the videos that are posted anywhere on social media with Jim Harbaugh in the locker room after the Chargers. And if anyone, I caught it a little bit yesterday, but Jim Harbaugh was on the Pat McAfee show, and I mean, just 100% vintage, weird, goofy, quirky Jim Harbaugh. But that guy can coach, and the way that he coaches football is his teams are going to play disciplined football. They're going to protect the football. They're going to win the turnover margin, and they're going to be where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. And if they don't absolutely love playing football, it doesn't matter. He's not going to put the 11 best athletes on the field. He's going to put the 11 best football players that want to play football the most on the field. And that was the culture that he brought to Michigan. And you can see a clear gap that's left behind. And now Sherrone Moore is only in his first year as a head coach. And I think that he is going to get more time. He is not on the hot seat this year. He's clearly showing that he can go out and recruit in a way that Jim Harbaugh couldn't, which is what he needs, because there's a big gap between what Jim Harbaugh was able to develop and coach versus what it appears a coaching staff after Jim Harbaugh is able to develop and coach. There's a big gap in coaching performance that is taking place. I don't think that the mass, it hurts when you send a ton of guys to the NFL. But like I said, we've got a lot of guys filling behind them that we were excited about coming into the year. And I question whether they're being put in the best position to succeed.
Yes.
Right. That's where my question comes from. And that's across the entire coaching staff, not just one coach. That's offense, defense, special teams. There's a lot of things that we aren't used to seeing that we're seeing this year.
And now it is not sign stealing, so Ohio State, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you can keep posting about that, but whatever you want to think, like, yeah, does the timeline fit? Yeah, I get it. But, there's still a lot of change. But with change, there's a lot different things with culture, adjustments, different strategy, different mindset But I don't know. We got to figure it out. It's got to figure it out. So football.
Yeah.
It's going to take some time.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's hit on the Indiana game a little bit. I know you and Dre and some of our listeners were live for that game. I popped on.
Thanks everyone again that joined as well too. Emily, Scott, Nicholas. That was awesome. Definitely going to do another watch party, so stay tuned.
Awesome. But it was a game that we should have won. It was a game early on. So Wink Martindale, I thought, made the best halftime adjustments that he has made this year.
Yeah.
It's 2 weeks in a row, really. 2 weeks in a row that he made good halftime adjustments.
It was tough for me to say. I said it on the watch party too. I'm like, guys, this is going to be really tough for me to say, but Wink actually made some adjustments in the second half.
Yeah.
Like they looked good. They looked good.
Yeah. And I think Wink is starting to find the team. I know there's a lot of criticism out there, and I was telling you this before we actually started the pod.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that Wink will be back next year. I think that he is. I would not blame Sherrone Moore if he goes in a different direction. I don't necessarily know if a lot of Michigan fans would be upset if we went in a different direction, but that's the side of the ball that we can look at. And Saturday was an example because we held Indiana. Indiana was averaging. Do you know what they're averaging per game? I can't remember what it was, but
I read the stats and just with specifically the Big Ten. I mean, they were leading or like in the top 5 or in the top 3 in the Big Ten in just any like yards per game or most sacks in the Big Ten. I mean, even on the defensive side of the ball as well too. It's quite a bit.
Yeah,
I mean, they're up there with everything. It was just a good team.
I want to say they're averaging like 40 points per game or over 40 points per game on the season, and we held them to 20. Right. So I thought it was a really strong performance by Wink, and what he brought, and that's the side of the ball that I can look and say, yeah, it hasn't been good for a lot of the year. There might even be some games that we can look at and say that that's a big part of the reason why we lost those games. But that is a side of the ball that I can look at and say it's gotten better and it's gotten respectable. And it's gotten better and it's gotten respectable without a first-round draft pick on the field for the last few weeks, with Will Johnson being out. So I thought defensively, we got burned a couple times in the first half. And that was what it was. Right. We did not look good defensively in the first half and put ourselves in a hole. Second week in a row. So second week in a row, we adjusted at halftime, but second week in a row that we put ourselves in a big hole as well. But again, I think we did a good job adjusting.
Thanks for joining on Saturday, man. Appreciate you.
Defensive line continues to look good. D-line looks
yeah,
strong.
always.
Graham,
we were
Kenneth Grant, Josiah Stewart, TJ Guy.
We're like third in the
Eric
country
Moore.
for rushing, so rushing defense. But yeah,
Cameron Brandt.
Never a worry.
Mm-hmm. Cameron Brandt had a really good game.
Hey Dre, I think you woke up.
Yeah,
I was just texting him. So we got you, brother. See you on next episode.
So Dre will be on next week.
Yep.
But offensively, I thought more of the same. But let's hear your take on defense first, Jason. Before we move on to offense, I feel like the defense, like I said, the first half wasn't good. Second half adjusted, and overall, I thought the defensive performance was definitely a winnable performance.
Yeah, so not good in the first half, but definitely second half. Definitely some major adjustments. I think for the first time this year, and we probably saw some light to it throughout the season, but regarding Wink Martindale, I saw a little stints of Jesse Minter in the second half. So defense actually played pretty good. I thought the linebackers played awesome. Hausman played good, but I think really we need to give some credit to Barham too. He's definitely improved. Maybe he wasn't put in the right situations at the beginning of the year and he was overhyped a little bit, but he's good. He's the last few weeks he's played excellent. So we're seeing the speed there with we talked about the defensive line as well too, but I think we also got to give a shout out. We didn't talk about him much this year. He got brought up maybe once or twice, but Hillman, man.
Yeah, Brandon Hillman. Yeah.
That got me going. Yep. He brought the wood and he just trucked two guys. I want those guys to be okay, but guess what? This is football, right?
Yep.
They absolutely trucked those guys, and it brought me a little bit back in my fandom of this is how Michigan's defense should be played.
Yep.
This is the physicality that I want. This is the discipline. We've missed so many tackles this year. What's going on? So a lot of it, we're going to talk more about it, especially when we get into the offensive side of the ball on my part for sure. But a lot of it's coaching. But Hillman, man, and TJ Guy. I know he was one of my players I really wanted to see him rise to the occasion, but I think he's coming up to speed as well too throughout the year. But dude, Hillman, love that guy right now. That guy brought my energy back. I don't care how many losses we had. It's how we're losing right now. It's frustrating, and that's the worst part about these L's. Like I said, a lot of it's coaching, but he brought my energy back with those two hits. It was amazing. But yeah, the defense came to life in the second half. Offense, well, we'll segue to that in a little bit.
Yeah, so per PFF, Hillman had the highest grade out of all the safeties that played.
Appreciate it, man.
So overall, but he actually had the highest tackling grade on the defense.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Destroying people. Is there stats on destroying people?
There is.
The guy can lay the wood, man.
But yeah, same. I was jacked to see that because those were the two most violent plays on that Michigan's defense has made this year. I think I can't think of.
Yeah.
I really can't think of two big hits like that at all this year, and that was an identity.
Yeah.
That was an identity going back to 2015. Was that type of aggression on defense, and that's one of the things that I think we're missing this year. One of the things that we saw last year, and for actually really the whole Harbaugh tenure, is a lot of hats to the football, right? On defense, there was a lot of hats around the football all the time. When guys were being stood up, they were getting hit from all angles. We don't see that a lot this year. There's not that same level of pursuit. But that was something that I was pretty excited about, was the violence, the aggression that Hillman showed. We need more of that, for sure.
It was awesome.
For sure.
Jeffrey, thanks for subscribing, man. Appreciate you.
So now is probably where we're going to get into our Victor's Nation bitch session here. But let's talk about that. Let's talk about the offense. There's a lot. I don't get it. I don't get why. I don't get why Khalil Mullins hasn't been the feature back this year. Right? I don't understand. He has been the best running
except
back.
Except USC, but but go ahead, because we're gonna get into it for sure. Go ahead.
So there's something going on behind the scenes. There's got to be. So again, looking at PFF's grades, Khalil Mullins has an 83.9 grade on the season as a running back. That's a damn good running back grade, especially because he has great vision, and we talked about the fact that our running backs this past week didn't even make it to the line of scrimmage before they were getting hit, right? And he also has had the best ability to break tackles, or to make people miss.
He's averaging 8.1 yards a carry at one time or something.
He was, and most of it was after contact because the offensive line wasn't opening up holes for him very often. He was doing it mostly himself.
Would you call that a hot hand then?
You would think so.
I'm gonna go into that because I'm really confused on Moore's comments here. But I agree with you. I think there's some things that we don't know about right now, and we might not know. But go ahead.
Yeah, but
I'm right there with you.
And I don't get it though. It should be automatic, even if it's. I don't care if you line Donovan Edwards up as the starting running back and Donovan Edwards on the field on first down, second down. If you get into a short yardage situation, that should be Khalil Mullins going out there. If Alex Orji is going out on the field, Khalil Mullins needs to be on the field at the same time. The thing is with the Orji package, they're not even running option plays. I feel like every time that Orji's been on the field, they basically have run the same play. And he's not even, it's just a quarterback power. The defense, and he's not a passing threat, so the defense has no reason to try and defend a pass. If they get beat by one, so be it. They'll probably live with it, but they're selling out to go and take away the Orji run, and Orji's not even reading anything. Put them in conflict. Make a defensive end or a linebacker make a decision on who they commit to trying to stop, either Mullins or Orji, and hand the ball off or keep it. They're not doing that. I don't get it. I don't get why Mullins isn't on the field for second and short, third and short. I don't understand why he's not on the field for anytime they get inside the 10-yard line. I just don't get it. And it's not to take anything away from Donovan Edwards. Donovan Edwards has been decent throughout the course of the year. He's facing the same thing. He's not getting back to the line of scrimmage before getting hit either. But Mullins has that nose for the first down and that nose for the end zone, and he's not being utilized that way. And I don't get from a play calling perspective and a coaching perspective why he's not a big part of their offense. And Nicholas, I absolutely agree. And we've been saying
it all year, and we've seen it.
Year.
We've seen it a few times, but it's like, with a struggling offense, and if you're not putting trust in the quarterback, which Davis Warren, I think, has improved quite a bit. But why are we not seeing more of those packages and those formations? I don't know. Couldn't tell you, man.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Like,
they
well, I mean, we mentioned it too. Like, well, it's like you guys don't know. Like, we don't know what's going behind the scenes. Well, yeah, we know that there might be something completely huge that we're missing right now. Well, then come out and say it, right? Because like we're fans. We're watching it as we go right now, week by week by week by week, and this is what we got. So we're gonna assume that this is what's potentially going on, but it's for sure the offensive coaching. I don't know. It's it's a head scratcher for sure. It's different.
I on offense. It's so here's one thing that I will say about offense. Davis Warren has played acceptable football the last couple of weeks since he took back over the starting job. He has done he's done his job, and he's done his job decently well. Again, like I don't understand some of the when or the why they go to the orgy package instead of letting him stay in a rhythm or get in a rhythm, right? And I absolutely multiple times this season,
especially on third down.
So
why?
A couple and then even red zone play calling when he's out there, right? So when you let him go move around and play quarterback, he threw a couple touchdown passes, but there's been multiple times. There was one time, I can't remember, Illinois maybe. I think it might have been the Illinois game, and I think it was 4th and goal in the Illinois game, and the play call is like 4th and goal from like the 6-yard line. And the play call had one person. It was a one read play, and that one read was to Colston Loveland. Now, if you're a defensive coordinator for Illinois, and Michigan, and you have a tight end that has more receiving yards than all of Michigan's receivers combined on the field, that is a no doubt first-round draft pick next year. That is arguably the best tight end in all of college football, and for sure the best offensive weapon for Michigan. Who do you think the one guy is that they're going to key on and make sure doesn't get open? Colston Loveland, right? It doesn't mean that he should not be a target, but against Illinois, nobody else ran a route on that 4th and goal play. And the route that Loveland ran was to about the 4-yard line to the short side of the field. So not only was it a one read, one route play on 4th and goal, Loveland would have had to break tackles. And there was nothing tricky about the play to fake out the defense and get him open. So completely dumb. And then so now 2-point conversion play is the play I'm thinking of from this past week. They went for 2, and everyone ran to the goal line and turned around. My brother sent me a text message of an old Tecmo Super Bowl play where everyone does a curl after the play, because that was the play. That was the play that they ran. There were no crossing routes. There was nothing. Everyone ran into the end zone and turned around, and that was the play design on a 2-point conversion, and that would have been a huge 2-point conversion to hit. So I just don't. I don't know. I don't understand what is going on. Where's the creativity? And offensively too, Colston Loveland is an absolute stud. Absolutely, without a doubt, a stud. But I don't think I can. Tyler Morris showed up this game. We've seen some Tyler Morris sightings the last couple weeks. So receivers are actually catching balls downfield, and we actually have some yards and completions going to receivers. But it's really hard to look at the offense and definitively find an area of the offense or a position group or a player that has improved from week 1 to right now. And that's on coaching. That is absolutely on coaching to make your team better throughout the course of the season.
Yep.
So I
have some thoughts.
Yeah, let them go.
I mean, I don't have any answers. I think so. Before we started recording live too, like I don't know. I just don't know what's going on in some of these coaches' heads. But like I said, Tyler Morris, great catch. Loveland, another good game. Absolute monster. Love you, dude. We see some light on offense, but then we just can't come back. I'm going to start with Mullins first. Why we didn't see him in the first quarter, I don't know. So Moore said Edwards and Hall have gotten the nod over Mullins in this game because they practice better and they want to feed the hot hands. Okay. I don't know I have no idea what to say about that. So we want to feed the hot hands, quote unquote. So why was he just starting the USC game? How come he's not getting more carries, especially at the start of the game, to open up the running game to maybe see some light in the passing game in some of these other weeks? I thought we were feeding the hot hands here. I'm confused. I have no idea. I feel like we're missing something. I don't know. That comment frustrated me. Like I said, we might be missing something. No idea. I don't get it. I don't get that comment. But so yeah, I don't know what that. But then he came out and basically said another thing as well too, that he's just had a lot of carries. So we're working through some stuff. But also Hall practiced really well again, and he wanted to get in the game. I think Benjamin Hall for sure should get his carries. I want to see Mr. Ohio. I want to see Jordan Marshall. I want to see Cabana eventually as well too. I get that, but I thought we're playing the hot hands here. If we put Mullins in on those 2 goal line drives where we ended up with like 6 points, we're winning this game by probably like 2 possessions. I'm so confused on that whole scenario on why Mullins did not play a whole quarter. Do start the game. Your hot hand, correct? So confused. I do not understand this comment whatsoever. It makes no sense to me. So I don't know. Mullins is not injured. I know he commented on some stuff too. He's going to roll with the punches. He trusts the coaches. Love that. But as a fan, aren't we supposed to feed our hot hands? I don't get it. So confused. Indiana's coach comes in from James Madison, 3-9 last year, gets him to the first 10-win season ever. Congrats to Indiana, but you can't tell me that this Michigan team doesn't have more talent than that team. I do not get the offensive side of the ball. So they let us in the game, right, Derek? I mean, especially in the second half, like we had the turnovers, like we just couldn't figure it out. We couldn't come up with a solid drive. Some of these orgy plays that you mentioned too, with third down, like it didn't make sense. But it's like you're not using Mullins in the first quarter on the goal line, but we're gonna run 2 straight possessions on 3rd and long with him. Maybe playing it safe to get that short 4th down and go for it. If it would have worked, I would have loved it. But hint, hint, those of you who watched the game, it didn't. What are we doing? The play calling and the strategy of this offense is so strange at times this entire year. You think we'd see improvements? We're really not. We see some maybe glimpses of hope or light with the play calling. I'm not seeing it consistently. But even Zeke. So Zeke Berry set the offense up on like third. I think it was like in the 3rd quarter. We were down 17-3. But props to the kicker again because we couldn't punch the ball in. So the time management by Sherrone Moore at the end too. I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but why are we waiting 28 seconds to call a timeout? We're down by 5. What are we doing, dude? So again, Derek, 100% agree with you. We should have won this game. It reminded me of the Illinois game. This one a lot closer. It's bad coaching. No one can tell me that this team is not more talented than most of the Big Ten teams this year. This is coaching. We said it. We're going to say it again. After week 2, week 3, we got a coaching problem. You could tell. So I'm going to continue to drive this down people's ears. I mean, we have the talent. Look at the names, especially on the defensive side of the ball for sure. But this team should be a 1 or 2 loss team. I'm not trying to justify it. We're 5-5, right? We're going to take those L's. But this should be, as a football fan, looking at this talent, and if we would have had the same coaches we did the year previously, or maybe even back a few years, we're a 1 or 2 loss team with this team. I don't have an answer with the coaching. I just don't. We've heard the accountability, but where are the changes? Where's the improvement? I'm not seeing it.
So I pulled some stats here that I'll share offensively on the season. So total offense. So 134 teams in Division I college football. All right. So that's what we're looking at here comparatively. Michigan's total offense, as far as yards per game, is 127th in college football. Michigan's points per game is 107th. Michigan's pass yards per game is 127th. Michigan's passing completion percentage rate is 85th. Michigan's rush yards per game is 63rd in college football. Michigan's third down conversion percentage is 69th in college football. Rushing the ball is bringing it up a little bit, but it's not good. It's not where the standard is of where a Michigan football running game should be. And when it comes to total offense, points per game, or almost anything as it relates to the passing offense, we're almost dead last in all of college football. That is not acceptable in any way, shape, or form. And I do not see a world where I don't see a world where Kirk Campbell is back next year. I honestly,
there's no way.
I know that there's a lot of moving pieces in this, and I know that as fans, we only see a little bit, right? So we evaluate coaches based off of wins and losses. And coaches do so much more than wins and losses when it comes to how they coach the team and how they coach the players, right? And sometimes the times where we as fans look at coaches and say that they're doing a bad job is when they're actually doing the best job coaching, because they're coaching people, because they're coaching individuals through challenging times, right? So we can't see that. We don't know anything that's going on behind closed doors. We don't know what any of these coaches mean. We have no idea what Kirk Campbell means to recruiting. We have no idea what type of role he plays in bringing a guy like Bryce Underwood in. We have no idea what he means to the players that he coaches, right? We only know what we see on the field, and that is a poor performance, right? So as fans, we don't know everything and we don't see everything. But I can't imagine a world where anybody near the Michigan football program would find it anywhere close to remotely acceptable for him to be back on the staff next year. And that's not a shot at him in any way. It's just when you coach at Michigan, when you play at Michigan, it doesn't matter.
When the expectations are high. You've been embedded in the culture as well, too. It's not like you're coming off the streets.
Right. So the expectations are high.
Yeah, and I don't see that world either. I'm sure I think he is a really good recruiter. I know he's a good person, but like, man, I don't know. Some of these calls, man, and these packages and just how you're utilizing some of this talent is just, I'm really scratching my head over it. And in certain downs too, in certain scenarios, certain situations, I don't get it. I don't understand what he's trying to accomplish. So, Derek, you just read some of those numbers. It's not acceptable. Like I said again, like, you can't tell me with the talent, even the ones that we have on offense, solid running back room, right? Like, you can't tell me the talent that we actually have, the names that we have, we wouldn't be better, right? We'd be better than 5-5. This is not a 5-5 football team. Like I said, we lost. We're going to take those 5 L's. No justification. I'm not going to build some damn time machine and go back. We're 5-5. But realistically, if we were to go back and we had different coaches, the ones before that staff before, you got to be kidding me, man. This is not a good look right now on the offensive side of the ball, and it's a tough watch. I just don't see the improvement. Just with some of those stats that you're sharing too, like, it's crazy to think, like, you look at the talent this team has. You look at what we did the year before. It sucks losing. I know this comment gets used a lot, but it sucks losing. But like, it's worse when you lose how we're losing.
Yep.
When you have the talent, when you have to sit through and watch this frustration of not utilizing possibly correctly, different I mean, no creativity really on offense here and there. Michigan State, we saw that. There was for sure, some damn creativity there, but like, it's just plain Jane obvious 3rd and long, Alex Orji, or hope for a 4th down with Mullins, because now we're going to finally run them. If we would have ran Mullins the first quarter, we would have probably won the game by 2 touchdowns. It's not that we're losing. It's how we're losing. That's the most frustrated part. It's almost like we're shooting ourselves in the foot. Like, we have the ball at the end and we just throw a pick. It almost feels like that every week because, well, except Texas. Texas is just a good team, but like literally, like a big part of it is coaching. It's how we're losing. Not that we have losses, it's how we're doing it. That's the gut-wrenching feel as a fan, as a player, as a coach. Like, why aren't you making some of these changes? You can't tell me that, well, it's the talent that we have. Bullshit. Davis Warren, you got to give him more of a chance on those 3rd and longs as well, too. I don't understand. Especially on the offense side. I don't get it.
Got to try and keep him out of 3rd and long. And you know what? Davis Warren is playing acceptable football. So I'm pulling some numbers here, courtesy of Blue by 90 that did the research and the work on this. But on the season, so they posted an article earlier. It's on the Facebook page if anyone wants to go find it. But they posted an article on the PFF grades through the season so far. Anytime that you see a PFF grade that is in the 60s, that means that the performance is average. Anytime that you see a grade that's in the 70s, that means that the performance is above average. 80s means that it's really good. 90s means that player is elite. Really, that in a nutshell is what the PFF grades mean. And so Davis Warren, his grade on the season is 72.7, which is above average, right? That's a type of grade that's a type of, before the season started, when we found out that Davis Warren was going to be the starting quarterback, what we said that he needed to do is he didn't need to be JJ McCarthy. That we said all he needs to do is be Cade McNamara, right? Yep. And his performance is at a similar level to what Cade McNamara's performance was. Yeah, he had a few mistakes, right? He had a 3 turnover game, and then he got the plug pulled on him, and we didn't see any development in the quarterback position beyond him, right? And now he's back as the starting quarterback and playing decently well, playing well enough to win football games. So I don't know. I think it just comes back down to, and our offense just isn't being put in position to be successful. And there's no, first off, there's no identity to this offense, right? The identity for the last few years. So let's also pause for a second and acknowledge that coming into this year, we saw the best 3-year stretch of Michigan football ever, right? And the only indisputable national championship of our lifetime, right? Because 97 was a national championship that was given to Michigan and given to Nebraska by two separate polls. There wasn't a championship game back then. It would have been cool if Michigan could have played Nebraska for a championship game, Yeah,
we would have won anyways. So it's go ahead.
So we're coming. So it's important to understand that we're coming off of the best 3-year stretch ever for Michigan football, and that's what we're comparing to this year. The drop off, I still think, is not what it should have been. I think that our drop off is significantly more than what it should have been from last year to this year. But there was a clear offensive identity to who we were with Hassan Haskins and Blake Corum, and with the offense alliance that we had, and Donovan Edwards and even Khalil Mullins in his role that he played on the offense the last couple of years too. There was a clear identity of who we were. And in the passing game, there was an identity. There was an identity of toughness that we had with how our receivers played and how they blocked. There's no identity on offense. What's our identity? Are we a power running team? I don't know, because we start the game off running silly reverses all over the place instead of establishing an inside run and pounding the ball and trying to get, instead of 2nd and 13, let's maybe let Khalil Mullings run the ball and get to 2nd and 5, right?
You mentioned Tecmo earlier. It's almost like a Tecmo football playbook.
Well, that's the second thing, right?
Basic.
Yeah, that's the second thing, is not only is there no identity offensively, but what are we developing with our play calling? Are we attacking the opponent's weaknesses? I don't know. I'm not the one that's putting the game plan together, but it doesn't seem like it. Yeah. Are we setting anything up? Are we running anything early in the game to set up other plays later in the game? It doesn't look like it. Maybe game script doesn't play to show that. Every week we have like one drive where we're like, holy cow, who's calling the plays right now? Because that we haven't seen this
Moore's
before.
calling them. Like, yeah, I felt like Moore was calling them against Michigan State, but
right, and then it goes away. But I was talking to a friend about this, and he compared our offensive play calling to Josh Gaddis, and I said, you know what? At least Josh Gaddis designed plays that got people in space. At least he designed plays that were creative and had receivers open and had tight ends open and had running backs set up to have the ball in space. Yeah, there was no rhyme or reason on why he called a play like there is right now, but at least the design of the plays seemed like they were creative. I don't see it right now. I don't see anything creative. I don't see anything that makes a whole lot of sense on offense.
It's almost like we're trying to lose or trying to make it interesting. It just, Indiana gave us the game. Illinois gave us the game. Washington gave us the game. This is people listening. This is 110% on the coaching staff. The time management, the play calling, the certain packages, the certain putting players in position to not win. Those games are definitely on coaching. Definitely on coaching. It's tough. It's tough to lose that way. I don't know. I don't have an answer for offense. I just know that the OC probably should not come back. It's done.
So as much as we're putting the accountability on the coaches, one thing that I do want to definitely give a shout out to is the players are busting their asses.
They're kicking ass. Not giving up.
Yeah, that's one thing. That's a culture builder. From a bad season, that's what builds culture, is when you have guys like Brandon Hillman out there that are laying the wood. When you have guys like Kenneth Grant that in an interview, when someone asks, well, you don't have anything left to play for, what's to stop you from shutting it down? And he's like, yeah, that's not even on the table. You don't come to do that. You know,
they are for sure busting their ass right now, and they're not giving up, and they're doing everything possible to win that game. Every week.
And you know, Davis Warren, you know, he, regardless of how he plays, after every game, he goes and shows up and does interviews. And you know, I think back. Do you remember a couple of years ago when we were after the Michigan State game, when we were waiting outside and Davis Warren walked out? So Davis.
Oh yeah, and that kid was like, JJ, can I get
there was a group
of He's like,
yeah,
I'm not JJ, but I'll still sign my name for you.
There was a group.
Yeah,
of kids
I remember that.
There was a group of kids that were waiting out to where we were hanging out by where the parents were and where the players came out, and a group of kids were there waiting to get autographs signed, and Davis Warren walked out, and he kind of looked like JJ McCarthy.
He does.
And right, yeah.
Does.
And so these kids were running up, JJ, can you sign this? And he's like, well, I'm not JJ, but yeah. And he probably sat there for like 10, 15 minutes signing a bunch of autographs for kids. And he was the only one that did that. And a lot of the other players came out, and I was like, why are these guys so pissed off? We found out later on that the tunnel incident happened, the tunnel fight. So it made sense why a bunch of guys came out so pissed off. But you know, a lot of credit to Davis Warren for knowing that he's got a target on his back from a lot of Michigan fans as the starting quarterback, and whether he plays good or not, going and showing up and doing the post game interviews, because you know what, honestly, for him, that's nothing compared to what he went through.
Oh no, personal. I mean, life's more important. I know Ohio State fans, like, you're obsessed about your team or whatever. You guys are just being kind of weird, but I mean, there's more important things to life, so just get one. Basically.
So what is a strong finish to this football season mean to you? How
Bowl
can
game.
we finish strong? Bowl game?
I want a bowl game. Yeah, I think this team wants a bowl game. I mean, I know the players do. Most of the coaches obviously too, but want a bowl game. I mean, that can bring or carry that momentum into next season as well too, or it's just another game. You know what I mean? It's another thing on film that we kind of need, especially after this year. Realistically, I mean, I still with Ryan Day at the helm at Ohio State. You can laugh at me. I really don't really give a crap at all, but there's still a bunch of wusses basically, in my opinion. When he's coaching Ohio State, there's still a bunch of pusses in my opinion. So that one's still doable to me. Obviously, I think we still beat Northwestern. We got a bye week. We already know what happened on the last bye week. Still a tough watch. You think we would have improved, but no, discipline, mistakes, whatever. But I think beating Ohio State or playing consistently well at Ohio State, a decent team, but also mistake-free football against Ohio State, win or lose, is a win in my book going into next year. We got them back at home. Yeah, probably a decently tough schedule. And guess what? With the SEC and the Big Ten potentially scheduling non-conference games and challenges against each other, I mean, it's just going to get tougher. We've done a really good job. We're not going to get into Bryce Underwood and all that. I hope he comes to Michigan. I know Halegate's doing a really good job supporting him right now as well too. So Dre, John Klein, that whole group, appreciate you guys. But I think Michigan's done a really good job and faster than what I thought, because probably this season has pushed us, opening up NIL and getting into that game extremely quick as well too. But yeah, Bryce Underwood, love the guy. I hope he shows up here. But yeah, I want to see a bowl game. I think that's my end result regardless, is my big one. I want to get another win to get into a bowl game because I want to see more on film. So regardless.
Yeah, and so I mean I think so a bowl game is crucial because one of the things that I think happens when you play in a bowl game is basically you go through training camp again, right? So bowl prep, if we go to a bowl game, I absolutely positively would not hold anything back against people like Colson Loveland and Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant for not going and playing in the bowl game. Not at all.
Absolutely not.
There's absolutely nothing for them to gain from that. But there actually is more for next year's team to gain from them not playing, because basically bowl prep turns into like a training camp type thing again, where you go back, you have a few weeks of practice, and
if you do consistently good in that game or disciplined football,
it lays a foundation.
I mean, that's a huge confidence booster for those guys that maybe still don't get a lot of playing time, or guys that are going to be back next year to bring to next season's team. Yeah, it's crucial that we're in a bowl game. I know people probably like, man, I don't know if I can watch another game of this team. Like, just we need a bowl game. This team needs a bowl game. Like, we've had 3 years of success, 3 regular season losses in the last 3 years. Yes, this year's tough. Yes, a lot of other fans, it's sign stealing. See, like I told you, the time frame fits, but it's not it. That's not it. Nothing's even going to happen from that. They're going to learn real quick. But we need a bowl game. Yeah. We need to build that culture back up again.
I agree. But the biggest thing to me that will make this season completely forgivable is if we beat Ohio State. If we beat Ohio State,
we're winning the other games. That's because Ohio State hasn't put a full game together all year. Go ahead. They really haven't. Football fan.
That makes this season completely forgivable. I will forgive everyone. I still don't see a future with Kirk Campbell, but I will forgive everyone if we beat Ohio State.
Yes.
That is all that matters.
Ohio State win. I mean, we're on to Northwestern. We'll bye week and then Northwestern, but I mean, they're really going to be thinking about that game next week. So I can see a lot closer game than what people think in a couple of weeks.
I think so too. So our defense our defense has quietly gotten better. Nobody really knows what's going on with Will Johnson, but I truly hope that he's back for Ohio State. Yeah,
I think he will be. I think a lot of people are jumping to assumptions like, well, he's injured, he's got turf toe, no, he's sitting out. It's like, you know what? Just stop. Like Will Johnson did his part for this program. Stop.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
He can do whatever the hell he wants to do. I think it's actually I think it's an injury. Other people can have their same opinions, but just stop. The guy is paid his dues. Okay.
So no doubt there's an injury there, and so this goes for Will Johnson. This goes for Colston Loveland. This goes for Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, and I would honestly put Josiah Stewart in the same boat here. If any of those guys had an injury where playing on it could make it worse and impact what happens after this year, go. You got a once in a lifetime opportunity. Less than 1% of people that play football actually get to go play in the NFL, and they get to go
play years after that as well too. Right. And it's just like, I mean, we've seen it with Jake Butt. You know, it might be a good example right there as well too. I mean, really tough game against Florida State that year, but no, I want a bowl game. But I think Derek and I are on the same page. We want it for the right reasons for that team next year. That whole front, Will Johnson, Mullins, Edwards. I mean, if they sit out, I'm not going to be mad about it at all. I would. Stay healthy, guys. But for the bowl game, we want to beat Northwestern. We want to beat Ohio State. So we got some prep time yet, but
absolutely.
But for the bowl game.
Absolutely. And then the other strong finish here when it comes to Michigan football is recruiting. We've gotten a lot of momentum on the recruiting trail, and I'm going to lump in
even with the year and the coaching, like we actually are putting together a solid class. And a lot of that, I mean, you're hearing about it with one player with Bryce Underwood, but I mean, we've definitely upped our NIL game real quick.
Yeah, and there's quite honestly, we're gonna see a much different team, and I want to touch on basketball briefly before we finish up, but I think we're gonna see a unique rebuild for Michigan football that we haven't seen, and this is kind of I've been thinking about this, and this is something that I'm not sure how I feel about it. Michigan has a chance to go in and fix their team for next year by going out and just acquiring talent, right? And it's not going to be the freshman recruiting. It's not going to be the recruiting class that does it because true freshmen shouldn't start. Like, even Bryce Underwood, right? Michigan is not a hotbed of football talent. So Bryce Underwood going from playing against high schoolers in Michigan to playing against guys in the Big Ten that are getting ready to go play in the NFL, there's a big difference there. The speed of the game, the depth of the playbook that he has to learn, the depth of the reads that he has to be able to make, the amount of time that he has to make those reads. True freshmen shouldn't be major contributors in a good program. Once in a while, there's those special guys. So I think Bryce Underwood does become one of those special guys, but we're going to build our team and we're going to acquire talent through the transfer portal. And that's something that's what I don't know that I feel really, I don't know how I feel positive that NIL is to a point where we can go do that. But it's fun also watching young guys develop into good players. And that's not necessarily something that we're going to see.
Did you think we'd be in this spot right now with NIL? Like, we literally have just grown the 5 families to set up a solid NIL at Michigan for not that long. We just came out of nowhere in the NIL game. This is
I mean,
something
it
that I
was
didn't think
there,
was going to happen for a while.
right?
Right?
It,
Culture is still important. We need it, but like it's definitely there. But I'm just saying, it's like we just opened the door.
yeah,
Just opened the door
yeah,
this season. I did not think that was going to happen, so that was a little bit of a surprise.
yeah. So I mean, I think we're gonna see a lot of we're gonna see a lot of new names and a lot of new faces next year on this team that are coming via the transfer portal. And I think that that's going to be step one of rebuilding what we need to rebuild with the roster is hit the transfer portal hard. And I'm excited to see that, but I don't where I'm on the fence on this, what the transfer portal's gone to. I was always a proponent of players should have the ability to transfer. But now with NIL and it's just going into this offseason, we have no idea who on the team, who on this roster is going to come back next year or who's going to hit the transfer portal, and we have no idea who we're going to bring in. And that makes it, I don't think that that's good for college football. I mean, it's good when it works for a program, right? It's good when it's someone like Indiana goes and completely rebuilds their team with transfers and ends up being 10-0 after a very poor season. It's good when a team like Oregon goes and just gets a new transfer portal quarterback every year to come in and has a Heisman caliber quarterback that just transfers to their team every year because they spend money on them. Right? Like it's good for those programs, but I don't know. There was always something about college football that I loved watching recruiting classes come in, and I loved watching them develop. And some recruiting classes you hit on. Michigan did that with the class with JJ and Donovan Edwards, right? That class that came in as true freshmen in 2021, they had something special and they stuck it out and they played through. I don't know that we're going to see that very often. So it's hard to get excited about where a recruiting class is going to end up because who knows what part of that recruiting class is still going to be there 4 years later.
Yeah, we got guys that are on their 9th team, for Christ's sake, basically. So who the hell knows? Or guys that are like 36. I mean, just look at college football this year. It's just been weird. I mean, I hope Army wins it all. It's my team right now, but Georgia, even last weekend as well too. Like, I know Ole Miss is good, but it's just been a weird 2-loss Alabama team. It's just been a weird year. It's been a very weird year. Very inconsistent, basically. Even the teams that have good records right now, they really haven't been able to put full games together. It's just anything can happen in the college football playoff. It's crazy.
Yeah. It'll be fun.
It's been a weird year.
The college football playoff will be fun to watch. So college football as a whole this year, and I've said this for years, I've always preferred the product of the NFL better than the product of college football. Now, I'm a diehard Michigan fan, so I will always bleed maize and blue. But every single week, every single Sunday, the worst team in the league could beat the best team in the league. That because the talent discrepancy between teams is so small, right? And every Sunday, well, you never know. I mean, they play great one week and they look like garbage one week. But for the most part, almost every NFL game in the fourth quarter is a watchable game. Is an exciting game. Every single game, every single week, almost. College football in general. Every week there might be obviously we watch every single second of every Michigan game, maybe even more than once. But outside of the Michigan games, there's not a lot of exciting games, right? There hasn't even the games that got pumped up to be exciting games. A lot of them have turned out to be not that exciting. So the college football playoff will be fun to watch, which will be a change up from what college football has been. I mean, there's been some really good games, don't get me wrong, but the percentage of games that actually turn out to be good games in college football are not that high.
Like I said, I mean, I'll take a 63-0 Michigan win like every week for the rest of my life. And it would not be boring to me. Win or lose and still watching every game, and I would still watch those games.
For sure.
Like, how are we going to score those points? There's more questions to it. But, yeah, let's get into basketball.
let's just
some
talk
hoops real quick before we wrap up high level.
Yeah, we'll talk basketball real quick. And 2 games in, 1-1.
Yeah.
So Michigan's basketball roster, just like we talked about last year, or talked about the next year's football team. Maybe we're going to see a lot of new names and a lot of new faces. Michigan's basketball team, a lot of new names, a lot of new faces. A lot
Top
of guys
10 transfer portal class.
Yeah, that came in via the transfer portal.
It's literally everyone except like 3 players.
It might be too early. It might be too early, but I'm kind of excited. Even though we lost to Wake Forest, that there is definitely a different level of effort and energy than what we saw the last couple of years.
Yeah,
without a doubt. And depth and depth. We're like 9 guys deep that actually come in and contribute a lot of minutes and contribute stats, contribute points. We're scoring a lot of points off the bench in the first couple of weeks or the first couple of games.
I think there's a lot of questions. It's just you can have the best. I mean, it's a top 10 transfer portal class for basketball this year. I mean, you'd think we'd have a rebuilding year, but Dusty May has put a hell of a team together. But we don't have that playing experience with that right now. And you kind of saw it during the Wake Forest game. They were up 13 points. And then in the second half, Wake Forest went on a run. It is what it is. I kind of blame the floor like 10% on top of the key was very slippery. That freaking kid, dude, I swear to God, he did not wipe that off good enough because I think it was Kaysen. I think our true freshman. He slipped there and then he turned the ball over.
Yeah.
The possession right after that. So I don't know. I don't know what's up with their brooms or what, or their bops, but I don't know. That part sucked, but it was kind of frustrating towards the end just because we caught back up. We couldn't regain the lead. We literally, Wake Forest was literally turning the ball over. We were too, but they were turning the ball over. They were making mistakes, not hitting shots. They cooled off a little bit. And Michigan basketball just could not buy a basket. We just couldn't buy a bucket. I think what's frustrating about that game as well, too, we didn't get the big guys involved that much. Golden, love the guy, still want him on the team. He just did not have a good game. Didn't take care of the ball too well. We definitely need to clean up the turnovers for sure, but Danny Wolf, we got to get the guy involved.
Yeah.
And he had a couple as well, too. But, between Golden, Cheddar, and Wolf, I think they had, 6 or 8 points, all 3 of them? That's crazy.
Wolf had 4. Golden had 8. Cheddar didn't.
Okay, so 12. 12
points, yeah.
So, that's crazy. I know it was Cleveland State. Okay, we're going to Cleveland State to Wake Forest, Jason. Still, we got to get the guys down low. It seemed like when we had the ball on offense, we just couldn't get the ball to them. We didn't set up a play. It seemed like to get the ball down low. It's like it was frustrating. It was almost like watching the football game all over again. It's like we're in the second half, towards the end. Indiana/Wake Forest is giving us the game, and we couldn't buy a bucket. But I agree with you. Very positive note. I love the defense. I think they're a lot more aggressive. We need to clean up the turnovers. Damn, we're hitting our free throws, Derek. Real excited about that part. Love it. But other than that, we got some shooters. LJ Kaysen, man, the freshman. Dude, guy's a beast. Guy has confidence. Guy takes it to the rim as well, too. He drives the lane like he's been there before. He is not scared at all. So we're talking about these transfers here, but we got to, Jace Howard's still on the team too. But, man, Kaysen, LJ Kaysen, do not forget the name, man. He is going to be a beast. A beast.
Kaysen, Reuben Jones, Sam Walters, those guys came off the bench and contributed.
Walters,
10, 9.
Walters had 3 threes in the first half, and then I think it was Trey Donaldson transfer from Auburn. He threw up that prayer before halftime and made that bucket. So it kind of drained their momentum a little bit, but man, it's just Wake Forest was just freaking hot, and then when they got cold, we just kind of stayed there, and we just never got hot again after that 13-point lead. So it was a frustrating watch, but we played a really good Wake Forest team. Yes, Michigan basketball has a ton of talent, but It's just they need more experience. But I am excited about this team. I definitely think we're back to March Madness this year, and we're headed back to the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on. This is only the second real game that they played together, right? They had a couple scrimmages, but this is the first time that they played like a team of similar talent in a game.
3-0 right now. I mean, they're good.
Yeah, they're a decent team. Michigan hockey too, another big weekend. So
Wake versus Notre Dame. Yeah,
so,
Wake versus Notre Dame.
Back-to-back sweeps, right? The weekend before they swept Boston.
Sweeps.
Swept Boston and then Notre Dame. So that's
tough beginning of the schedule of Minnesota State too. BU, Notre Dame obviously is Big Ten play, but you're looking at Michigan State too. That's gonna definitely make some noise in the Big Ten this year. I mean, they were good last year, and we just beat them at the end to get to the Big Ten championship and win that. But young team. Could we see 4 straight Frozen Fours and not get to the championship? That would rip my heart out. We already went to 3 straight Frozen Fours, so just like football, 3 straight college football playoffs. But Michigan hockey with Derek, with all that NHL talent, couldn't get it to the championship the last 3 years. But that's an impressive feat. It's an impressive feat. I mean, I'd be interested. This team is young on the young side, but dude, they're sweeping BU. They're sweeping Notre Dame right now, dude. Like, this is going to be a really good, unexpected hockey team. Yeah, we're going to go through some growing pains, I think, but I mean, this team can make a run for sure. They can make one. They can make a run.
Yeah, they're ranked 5th overall right now, I think, right?
5th right now. Yep. 5th.
So some good things on the way. Women's basketball too. Not to keep going, but
the freshmen. Yeah. I think someone asked me the other day. I think it was like my father-in-law. I believe he was asking me like, is this like the next is this like the next like Caitlin Clark?
Caitlin Clark.
And I'm like, okay. if she starts hitting, so she's like the top recruit I think ever that was committed and then like is playing for
Silas Swords
or one of the women's side. But like, I wouldn't compare to Caitlin Clark yet. If she's hitting threes at the logo or like half court, then we can talk about it consistently. But like, no, I mean she's not there yet. But she's good. She's definitely good.
Silas Swords is true freshman. Yep. Keep an eye on her because she's, I don't know, women's basketball looks like they're going to be pretty decent.
They almost beat South Carolina when they lose by like 3 points or something.
Yeah.
The number 1 team in the country. Yeah, they're close.
Yeah, what was the score of that game?
I'm going back.
68-62.
Okay.
They lost 68-62. And Silas Swords had 27 points as a true freshman against the number 1 team in the country. Then they beat Lehigh on Friday, which is a game that they definitely should have won.
Looks like we got a potential 5-star outside linebacker coming to Michigan too. Sorry.
Nice. I just come through.
Yeah.
Nice.
Potentially. So we'll see.
Nice. I mean, that's what if we can start loading up on talent, that's what we need to do with football is we need to load up on talent because with Jim Harbaugh, we were able to win by developing lesser talent that came into the program. And by targeting specific types of players to fit a specific identity of football. Not every coach is going to be Jim Harbaugh. And that's why, quite honestly, very few coaches can be successful in college and successful in the NFL. Is most college coach, Urban Meyer, he can't do shit in the NFL because he has to coach against teams that are equal in talent. In college, he can go out and acquire all top 100 recruits and build a team of all-stars and hardly ever have to play a team of similar talent. Ryan Day, if you would throw Ryan Day right now into the NFL as a head coach, he would be the same thing Urban Meyer and Nick Saban were in the NFL, because the only reason that he wins, what happens when he plays a big game, except for Penn State? He loses.
Yeah. That's going to be, man, I want to win that game so bad. I mean, they literally have really not played a full game like Ohio State hasn't, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe 100% that week. 100%.
Yep.
But yeah, do you want to talk about another sport?
No.
Just going down the line here.
I haven't kept up with women's field hockey or anything like that.
Big Ten champions, congrats.
Really? There we go.
Big Ten champs, and they made the tournament. Yep. I already posted it, I think, a couple of days ago. So congrats to women's field hockey. Big Ten champions, and they are headed to the tourney. Love it.
All right, so there you have it. Michigan football rebuilding.
You brought that one up.
Michigan football rebuilding. Michigan basketball, we hope, rebuilt. Women's basketball.
Yeah, they look.
Watch out for a stud true freshman. Michigan hockey. Another Frozen Four.
Young team.
Maybe
4 Frozen Four. So we got some optimism here. There's some good things coming. Still, anxiety is high. Until I see Bryce Underwood on that sheet that he's coming to Michigan, I'm gonna kind of hold my breath here. So kind of underwater right now, but we'll get there.
And Michigan women's field hockey now, we all know, conference champions.
Yep. Big Ten champs. Love it.
All right. Well, that's what we got for you this week. Be sure to tune in next week. If there's any topics, anything that you want us to cover on any of these pods, post it on the Facebook page or hop on and ask your questions while we're live during the podcast. On that note, Dre isn't here to tell everyone to respect one another and love one another. So be sure to go out and do that. And as always, go blue.
Go blue.